And so how does that translate into us and where we are in life? If you look at the title today, it's called Source, Substance, Supply. It's something that, as I talked to the people from around the world, was weighing heavy on everyone's mind. It's not just us here in the United States, it's the world. Everybody's wondering, what do I do? What will happen to me? And the more that they become entrenched in world events, the more that they listen to those kinds of things, that information that's bombarding them, the more scared that they become. I believe that there were many people walking the Camino who were trying to escape from all of that, to hear a different message, to hear a different source, if you will. And for me, what it did was it just reaffirmed my faith. Because what does the word substance mean anyway? It's a Latin word that comes from substare. It means to stand under. Substance, the thing that stands under everything. Under everything in the world, there is a substance. And what do we know that substance to be? Source. And how do we define source? Source is God. Source is infinite intelligence. It's creation. It is the unlimited aspect of nature. That source stands under everything. It was under that trail, that ancient trail that had been walked by so many famous feet. You know, I'd be walking someday and I'd go, I wonder if St. Francis touched this tree. Of course, the tree was only 3 years old, but that's beside the point. Because source has always been and source will always be. Think about it this way. You're sitting in a pew right now, a very comfortable, cushy pew. You haven't been thinking about that pew. You haven't been thinking about the fact that it's cradling you, that it's supporting you, that it's holding you up, it's doing its job. And it's doing that whether you think about it or not. That's amazing. Well, if a pew can do that, imagine what that which is God can do. You see, it's also that energy, that source, that amazing aspect of the Creator is supporting you constantly, whether you think about it or not. It doesn't go away. It doesn't abandon you. It's there 24/7, every single breath of your life. So when you and I panic, when you and I fall prey to worry or angst because we fear that there's not enough, what we're actually saying is you don't exist. We're actually creating the biggest lie, the biggest illusion of our lives by rejecting that. And even when we do that, it still does not go away. God is perpetually there. It is the substance, the thing that we stand upon. And then what is it giving to us? Supply. Supply. My favorite story, my favorite demonstration of this is found in Scripture. Maybe you recall the story of the widow who went to Elisha, and she was in a big panic because they were about to come and take her sons away. You see, her husband had died. He had left her with all of this debt. And the way in which that debt is repaid back in those days was they came and they took your kids. That was payment. That was the way in which you made good on what you owed. And for her, it was sort of a double whammy, because not only did her husband pass away and she was grieving over that process, but now in order to make good on his debts, they were going to come and take the very thing which she felt would be her sustaining grace for the remainder of her years, her sons. So you can imagine how she felt when she went to Elisha. Part of the backstory with this is that her husband had been a student of Elisha's. And so she pleaded to him. She says, you know my husband. You know he was a good man. You know he was an honorable man. You know that we wouldn't have let this just happen. You know that we want to make good. But what can I do? I feel as though everything is being taken away from me. And so he sort of let her have her moment. And then he very calmly looked at her and he said, tell me what you have. And she says, perhaps you didn't hear me. I have nothing. He goes, no. Tell me what you have. And so she stopped and she contemplated and she said, I have a small carafe of oil, of olive oil. That's what I have. And he said, great. And he goes, what I want you to do is this. I want you to go to all your neighbors. I want you to start knocking on their doors. I want you to start borrowing every single pot, container, carafe that you can get your hands on. And I don't know if she put up a fuss, but what I do know is that I can surely guess that there must have been some embarrassment. Because when you study these scriptures, it talks about how public debt was one of the most humiliating things. So she was already humiliated among her peers, among those within her township and the village and the area in which she lived. Now he was asking her to go and face these people and to borrow their pots and the containers. And he said, and when you do that, come back, close your doors. And so she goes and she gets her 2 sons to help her, and they collect as many containers as they can carry, and they bring them in and they set them up in their modest little home, and they shut the doors. And he said, okay, what I want you to do is to take your carafe, what you have, and start pouring it into all of these containers. And so they did. And you know the story. As they poured, the container would fill up and the oil would keep coming out, and the oil would keep coming out, and the oil would keep coming out. Then they'd move to the next container and the oil would keep coming out. And they did this until they filled every single container, jar, carafe that they had borrowed. And when they got to the last one, her carafe finally let go its last drop. What does that tell us? That tells us that to the degree that we offer the containers of our belief, of our spiritual practice, that they will be filled. Nothing more, nothing less. And so really what it is a testament to our willingness in order to exemplify, to experience, to be that which is this spiritual practice of putting God out into the world. How big are you willing to play? As big as you are willing to play is as big as you will experience. My favorite 3 words, to the degree. To the degree. To the degree that you believe that you live in a world that works is the degree in which your world will work. To the degree in which you believe that people are out to get you is the degree in which people will show up and take advantage of you. To the degree that you believe that there are opportunities waiting for you, eager around every corner, is the degree in which those opportunities will appear and show up for you. To the degree, to the degree, to the degree. And you start to look at that as a barometer of our personal belief. What do I believe? Because you see, we talk a good game sometimes. But it's not about the talking. It's about what we believe. Because it's those beliefs that we swim in. It's those beliefs that we're dedicated to. It's those beliefs that become a part of our chronic thinking. And those beliefs can border on the idea of infinite supply, or they can border on the idea of panic, such as the widow. But the beautiful thing is that any moment, the moment that you decide to expand your belief, is the moment that that supply, that oil, continues to pour and to pour and to pour.